A waitress comforts a crying child using a unique language, unaware that a billionaire nearby recognizes every word as the voice of his late wife. The soft clatter of dishes echoed through the small diner as Maria wiped down the counter for the third time that evening. At 36, she had served coffee and comfort food long enough to sense when someone needed more than a warm meal. The little boy in booth 7 had been crying for nearly 10 minutes, his small shoulders trembling as his exhausted mother tried everything to soothe him. Other customers had begun to stare, some with sympathy, others with visible irritation. Maria set down her dishcloth and walked over, her worn sneakers silent against the checkered linoleum. She knelt beside the booth and began speaking in a language that wrapped around the child like a warm blanket. The words flowed softly and melodically, immediately drawing the attention of those nearby, but it was the man in the expensive suit at the corner table who suddenly froze. His coffee cup hovered halfway to his lips, his eyes wide with recognition mixed with disbelief. The diner had always been Maria's sanctuary. After immigrating from Romania 15 years earlier, this modest corner of downtown had become her entire world. She learned English while working double shifts, saved every penny, and built relationships with customers who felt like family. The faded vinyl booths and cracked mirrors held more memories than the upscale restaurants she once cleaned before landing this job. The crying boy couldn't have been more than 4 years old. His mother, a young woman with tired eyes and a wedding ring catching the fluorescent light, struggled to hold back her own tears. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He's been like this since we left the doctor's office. I don't know what else to do." Maria continued speaking in Romanian, her voice gentle and rhythmic. She told stories of brave little rabbits, helping their mothers, of sunshine after storms, and how sometimes crying meant you had a big heart that felt everything deeply. Slowly the boy's sobs faded. His tear-streaked face turned toward the stranger, who seemed to understand his pain without knowing his story. The corner table. Billionaire businessman Jonathan Mitchell felt his chest tighten. He had come to this unremarkable diner to escape the suffocating silence of his penthouse, seeking anonymity among people who wouldn't recognize his name from Forbes. At 42, he controlled a tech empire worth billions, but tonight he just wanted a quiet meal. Hearing those Romanian words he hadn't heard in 3 years transported him back to hospital rooms and whispered bedtime stories. His late wife, Elena, had spoken to their daughter in that same lyrical cadence, weaving comfort from syllables that danced like music. She taught little Sophia the same lullabies, the same tender phrases that turned tears into smiles. By now, the boy had stopped crying completely. Mesmerized by Maria's voice, she pulled a small piece of paper from her apron and folded it into an origami butterfly, continuing her story about how butterflies were angels in disguise. The child reached for it eagerly, his distress entirely forgotten. Jonathan's hands trembled as he watched, remembering how Elena had done the same for Sophia during chemotherapy treatments. Maria helped the boy's mother gather their belongings, refusing payment for the untouched food. "Sometimes children just need to know someone understands," she said softly, smoothing the boy's hair one last time. As they left, she noticed the man in the tailored suit watching her. His meal untouched. Jonathan approached the counter slowly, his usual confidence replaced by vulnerability. "Excuse me," he said quietly. "The language you were speaking was that Romanian?" Maria nodded, suddenly self-conscious. "Yes, sir. I hope it didn't disturb anyone. Children sometimes respond better. My wife was Romanian." Jonathan interrupted gently. "She used to tell stories just like that, the same rhythm, the same tenderness." The words lingered between them. Maria recognized the past tense immediately and saw the pain flash across his face before he masked it with composure. "She taught me a few phrases," Jonathan continued. "Dragos pentru totdona, tu ecte lumina viaci mil." His pronunciation was careful, each syllable heavy with memory. Maria smiled softly. "Love forever." "You are the light of my life," she translated. Beautiful words. She loved you very much. His composure cracked. "She died 3 years ago, cancer. Sophia was only 5. The diner seemed to fade as Maria poured him fresh coffee without asking. She understood grief without needing explanations. It showed in how she handled fragile things, how patiently she treated others. Jonathan shared stories he had never spoken aloud, how Elena had helped him expand his business into Eastern Europe, how her laughter filled unseen emptiness, how Sophia now lived with his mother because he couldn't bear the silence of their home. Sophia speaks Romanian too, he whispered. Elena said it mattered to remember where we came from. His voice broke. After she died, I couldn't hear it anymore. So I buried myself in work. Maria listened without judgment. My father died when I first came to America, she said. I stopped speaking Romanian for 2 years. But then I realized the language wasn't the pain love with nowhere to go was. She paused. Tonight, I gave my father's love a place to live again. Jonathan looked up, shaken by her words. But I failed my daughter. The same way you learn any language, Maria replied gently. One word at a time, one conversation at a time. Like water. They flow around obstacles and fill whatever space you give them. She met his eyes gently. Your daughter doesn't need a perfect father. She needs her father. The weight of 3 years of avoiding his own child settled heavily on Jonathan's shoulders. He thought about Sophia's birthday the month before, how he had sent an expensive gift instead of showing up. How his mother had gradually stopped calling with updates about school performances and playground dramas. A tear slipped free before he could stop it. I don't even know what she's interested in anymore, he admitted quietly. Her favorite books? Her friends' names? I used to know everything about her world, his voice cracked. Have you ever faced something like this? Maria reached across the counter and gently rested her hand over his. Then ask her, she said simply. Children love sharing their worlds with people who truly want to see them. The next morning, Jonathan sat in his Mercedes outside his mother's house, his hands clenched around the steering wheel. He had barely slept, Maria's words echoing in his mind. Through the window, he saw 8-year-old Sophia helping her grandmother plant flowers in the front garden. Her dark hair gleamed in the morning sun, just like Elena's once had. He knocked on the door with trembling hands. His mother answered, surprise and weariness crossing her face. Jonathan? You're here early. You usually call first. I came to see Sophia, he said quietly, if that's okay. Before she could reply, a small voice rang out. Tada! Sophia appeared behind her grandmother, dirt on her hands and hope shining in her eyes. She had grown so much since his last visit, less baby softness now, more of Elena's sharp intelligence shining through. Hello, my little butterfly, Jonathan said in Romanian, the endearment slipping out naturally. Sophia's face lit up. Like Christmas morning, you remember Mama's words? She exclaimed, switching effortlessly into Romanian as she ran to him. Uni said you forgot them because work made you too busy to think about us. Jonathan knelt down, pulling her into his arms for the first time in months. She smelled like sunshine, soil, and innocence. In that moment, he wondered how he had ever convinced himself that staying away was protecting her. I never forgot, he whispered. I was just afraid remembering would hurt too much. But someone very wise reminded me that love isn't meant to hurt forever. It's meant to find new places to grow. Sophia pulled back to study his face seriously. Like the flowers Buni and I planted, she said thoughtfully. She says we put seeds in dark soil and trust them to find the light. The simple depth of his daughter's words cracked something open inside Jonathan. Exactly like that, he said, steadying his breath. Will you show me your garden? I want to learn about flowers. As Sophia led him by the hand to her, carefully tended patch chatting excitedly about marigolds and morning glories, Jonathan felt something shift. The guilt was still there, but it was no longer the loudest voice in his mind. That evening, he called Maria at the diner. I don't know how to repay you, he said. Just keep planting seeds, she replied softly. That's how gardens grow. 6 months later, Maria looked up in surprise as Jonathan walked into the diner with a little girl whose eyes sparkled with curiosity and confidence. Sophia skipped ahead, radiant in a way that spoke of security and love. Maria, Jonathan said warmly, I'd like you to meet my daughter, Sophia. Sophia studied Maria openly before bursting into rapid Romanian, telling her about her school play, her new best friend, and the butterfly garden she and her father had built in Elena's memory. Maria laughed, responding in kind, and Jonathan felt his heart swell watching the two connect. Double quotes. Tata says, "You helped him remember how to be my daddy again," Sophia said, switching to English with ease. "He teaches me business words now, and I teach him flower names. It's a fair trade." Over coffee and Sophia's hot chocolate extra marshmallows. Of course, Jonathan explained how that night had changed everything. He had restructured his work schedule to have dinner with Sophia 3 nights a week. Saturdays were now for Romany.